Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Dan. Michael Kormelos is here with me. Ethan Leviditis, unfortunately unable to join. He will be back with us soon as we continue to discuss the NFL playoffs and this, what a glorious journey this has been as we move on to conference championship weekend. But how are we feeling? We've been through 20 weeks of this now. How do we feel going into this weekend? Are we ready to go? Are we a little sleepy? How are you?
It's been a great season. Some things could change. I'd like it a lot better if my Texans were playing in the AFC Championship. I'm sure you'd be a lot happier if your Eagles were playing in the NFC Championship. But we can't always get what we want.
Yep.
You were just in the Super Bowl last year, so you should be content enough with that. And then my boys were projected to win 4 games this year, so I'll take what I can get. But no, I feel like the playoffs have been great. Not a lot of first round was a little shaky, but I think the second round ended up being a lot of better games.
Yeah, no, definitely. We had a lot of close matchups last week that I did not expect to be close in really any way. Even like I was talking about Lions the other day on the radio, and I would have never thought that would be the game it was. I thought the Niners were going to steamroll the Packers, and that happened. So I think a lot of excitement that's going on this year. I think a lot of excitement that's going to continue, and I think we can start exactly where I just left off, and that is with the Detroit Lions, your defending NFC North champion. It has been a joyride for sure for Lions fans as they approach this NFC Championship matchup. But they didn't come here just to roll over, and they will take on another squad that is looking for a little bit of redemption here in the San Francisco 49ers, coming off an NFC Championship loss just a year ago. A lot of hoopla surrounding that game, whether it's warranted or not, we can debate. But this is a matchup between two teams which, as franchises, are desperately in need of a Super Bowl berth, I would say. So what are our initial thoughts for this matchup?
I think it'll be this is the least exciting matchup-wise out of the two games going on, in my opinion. I think San Francisco is really coming into this game with a chip on their shoulder from last week. Would you agree with me on that?
I think to an extent. I think, I don't know, I think as far as the way the game was called, the way they played, I think they played themselves into that situation. You know what I mean? I don't know about if chip on their shoulder is how I would use it.
I know, but I think any team plays a not so great game against a team that they were expected to steamroll. You kind of go in the next week with a chip on your shoulder, kind of thinking,
yeah,
all right, let's prove everyone wrong. Now everyone's starting to doubt us, And I think that doubt comes rightfully so. The fact they barely beat the 7th seed. That's not a good look for them. But, I think Brock Purdy looks to have a bounce-back week. It's not many times we've seen Brock Purdy have a bad game in the NFL level. So, I think we're going to look to see an interesting bounce-back from him. It would be really interesting to see if they get Debo back. It looks like he was limited in practice today. Should be a little bit more available tomorrow. So, I think he's making positive steps to come back. And then, obviously we know the rest of the receiver room. Ayuk's been great this year. Juwan Jennings, when he needs to come in and do his thing, there he's fine. George Kittle, obviously one of the best tight ends in football, consistently has been. And a great defense that really made plays when it needed to last week, when times looked really rough for them. Then you're going against a Detroit team that everybody knows about, the Jared Goff redemption. He's become now the face of Detroit at this point, maybe, along with Dan Campbell, his mastermind of a head coach. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Amazing 1-2 punch at running back. It's two very different styles of running back, too. You got David Montgomery's more of a power guy, and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get to the outside, more of an agile back. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been great. Josh Reynolds has been really good this playoff run. It seems like they're finally figuring out how to use J-Mo. He's been incorporated more in the system. He had a couple catches the last 2 games. So I think offense-wise, you're looking at a pretty even matchup. I think defense is where it really starts to – I think we start to see the tale of two cities, as the San Francisco defense has been awesome throughout the year, and this Detroit defense has had a lot of uncertainty. You just get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back, which is great for them because, in the limited time he's played this season, he's been great. But that's really it. I mean, it's a solid D line though. Guys like Lee McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson. It's an all right linebacker group, and I really feel like outside of what's his name, Gardner Johnson, it's a really rough secondary. And I feel like, especially if Debo's back, Brock Purdy might have a field day picking apart that defense, which is going to be the difference point in this game.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying there. But I kind of want to flip it on its head and say that this is the game that I personally am most excited for going into this weekend. I agree with the point on the Lions defense. I think from a pure talent level, it's obvious that this San Francisco 49ers offense is going to be successful for large portions of this game with the amount of weapons that they have, with Kyle Shanahan's ability to truly attack defenses over the middle of the field, which is a place where the Lions defense, especially with their linebackers and coverage, have really struggled over the course of this year. They've struggled with teams really beating them over the top of the defense as well. And, a lot of these Lions corners and man coverage as well have struggled. But what I liked that they did a lot against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week in order to stop the pass game is they got really aggressive as a whole under Aaron Glenn. They would run a lot of nickel blitzes. They would rush 6, rush 7 on a pretty consistent basis, and were able to really get home a lot against what I think is a really solid offensive line in Tampa Bay.
Definitely.
Have struggled at times in their interior offensive line. So I think that is a matchup to watch, especially after last week where I did think that interior offensive line struggled a little bit, put a lot of pressure on Purdy in the passing game. So I think that's definitely the matchup to watch for me going into this week. But I would agree that this Niners offense is still going to have their explosive moments. I think the Deebo Samuel thing is so crucial. We saw what they looked without him and the outside run game in that game against the Browns and that game against the Vikings. And when so much more pressure was put on Purdy in the straight vertical passing game, it makes this a completely different offense. So I think if Deebo plays, there's a good chance that this does end up the way you're talking about it, and it does end up being a blowout. But if he doesn't, I think taking that dimension away from the Niners passing game makes this a lot closer, and I think this ends up a shootout between these two offenses, which have both been incredible, as you pointed to, throughout these past couple weeks. This is a different Jared Goff. This Jared Goff through these two playoff games has been incredibly efficient. He's getting out the ball faster than ever. Even from last season, he has drastically improved, and I think he is dangerous. So I think these are two offenses that are going to go to war if Deebo Samuel isn't playing, and I think it's a close game for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think, like you're just saying, like these two playoff games, he's been different. I think really Jared Goff's been different these last 2 seasons. He's had obviously the best 2 seasons of his career, and it's been wonderful to see this scheme that Dan Campbell has put up, and it's just been beautiful. A great resurgence for a guy that was a former first overall pick. Really looked like he had the bust label on him, and now he's coming in. He's looking more like the first overall pick every game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, I think with the Deebo being out is really going to be a big thing to see how they're going to get the ball out of Purdy's hands fast, especially with a line that's outside of Trent Williams really struggles.
Yeah.
In pass pro.
Yep.
If you're rushing 6 and 7, you're going to see a lot of. I think we're going to be able to. I mean, obviously, with McCaffrey, they're able to get the ball out of Purdy's hands quickly, but obviously Deebo does play a big part in that offense. See guys like Jawan Jennings step up, Ray McLeod. So you're going to have to see a lot more screens, bubble passes, slants, and that's not a knock on Brock Purdy for arm strength or anything, but that's just this O-line just can't really block much when it comes to when teams bring more than 4.
Yeah.
Any blitz, it seems like this O-line really struggles. So
yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, that was really surprising for me personally going into this season because, if there's one thing I think about when I think about the San Francisco 49ers over the past couple of years, it's the way that they've built this structure and dominating on both lines of the football, and they just really haven't drafted very well as far as their offensive line. lost a couple key pieces in free agency this year. That's something that they're really going to have to address in this offseason. But the rest of this offense is so unstoppable. It doesn't really matter. It seems like they've invested their money in other positions where they have these star players, even if they don't have the most positional value, players like McCaffrey, players like Fred Warner. And that's really worked out for them. Yeah, Hufanga, who's been so fun and such a big redemption story. I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah, right. Who would have thought he was going to be one of the biggest pieces of San Francisco Super Bowl?
Exactly. And that secondary, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That secondary has been a lot better since we started questioning them in the early weeks of this season. Charvarius Ward has taken a huge step up this year. So has Lenoir after he
Lenoir's been great.
He's been great, and he was a liability last season, especially in that Eagles game. He is no longer a liability. They are going to take it to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, and Jameson Williams in this game. So that's another matchup I'm really, really excited for, I would say.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited to watch it. Should we move on to predictions? Yeah. How can we not do predictions? Give me 30-21 San Francisco.
Okay. I'm going to say if Debo does not play, 34-31 Niners. If Debo does play, I'm going to say 34-23 Niners. I think it's that big of a difference.
I agree.
Yeah.
Although you just made no difference in your score, but they score 34
they hold on
regardless.
To the ball. I think
okay, there you go. Yeah. All right, on to what in my opinion is the way more exciting game. You got the Chiefs and the Ravens. You have Mahomes going back on the road, going to face who was inevitably going to be the MVP, Lamar Jackson. How are we feeling about this game?
This is really interesting on paper. I have been largely a Chiefs proponent throughout this regular season, which is a position that I'm not usually in, I would say. I thought that Chiefs team last year had a lot of flaws. I was a little bit of a doubter at times, especially of their weapons, of their ability to produce offensively.
And they beat your favorite team in the Super Bowl.
They beat my favorite team in the Super Bowl, and I think it kind of showed me the undeniability of the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid combination. But I think what's been the defense this year has not been Patrick Mahomes, has not been Andy Reid. I think it's been this run game in Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's taken a massive step forward this season. He had 97 yards last week in a massive playoff game. He had over 100 the week before against the Miami Dolphins. Just been such a steady back. And the variety of run concepts that they have utilized him in as well. They've kind of drifted from being a strictly shotgun team. And they're running a lot of outside zone, a lot of counter. Just a variety of different run concepts that allow for him to really attack a defense and allow to open up this play action game for Kansas City, even with this wide receiver group that is unable to really create separation at times. They're catching defenses on surprise in a way that they really haven't in the past. So I like that, even if, you can bring up all the depth of target stuff from Mahomes and blah, 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 having the worst season of his career. I really do think he's had a really good season in making the most of this offense. I think, the way that Andy Reid has kind of scripted this to kind of, make up for the lack of talent of their receivers has kind of maybe not maximized what I would say are Patrick Mahomes' greatest abilities. And he struggled with that, I think, at points of the season, trying to do too much, trying to do a little bit of hero ball. But he seems to have settled into his role come playoff time. And I think that's the best version of Mahomes that you could possibly get going into this game. And to put that on top of a defense that's been so good.
I was waiting for you. I was waiting for it to come. I was going to call you out immediately if you didn't compliment Steve Spagnuolo.
They've been so good, man. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, this secondary. Can you believe that?
But Jerry Sneed and Trent McDuffie.
Yeah. I had Sneed on my All-Pro team. I had him first team All-Pro.
McDuffie wasn't All-Pro.
Yeah, like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy that Willie Snead. I mean, not Willie Snead. Jerry Snead hadn't allowed a touchdown until last week. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yep. And just a year ago, we were talking about how he was going to be a weakness. He got burned on that AJ Brown route in the Super Bowl. Like, it's just a complete turnaround for him in this defense. Spags is doing his thing, disguising coverages, all these different blitzes. And then, did you see that Chris Jones stat from the other day?
Yes.
The run, yeah, like they're unstoppable. It's ridiculous.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's
And
awesome. It's great. It's been great to watch.
yeah. And yet they take on a team that
does it so much better.
Undeniable. Oh,
has been the
God.
best team. It has beat every good team that they played by 2 touchdowns or more.
Yep. I mean,
oh my God.
Mike McDonald, Todd Monken, the way they've opened up this.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
John, not Jim. Sorry.
John Harbaugh. The way they've opened up this offense to a spread offense for Lamar Jackson, gotten away from the condensed Greg Roman concepts and the awful run plays on every single down. He is the most complete quarterback he could possibly be. If you had told me Lamar Jackson would be this 2 years ago, I would have been stunned. He is exactly who we had all hoped he would develop into. He is a top 3 quarterback in this league. And he
absolutely is.
Yep. And by
maybe
the end
he
of this,
didn't have
3.
maybe he didn't have the best season running the ball, but it was very effective the way he ran the ball, and it was very smart. And they were able to incorporate a lot more running back runs, obviously, because running backs run the ball. But this is by far the best season of his career as a passer, which has been so fun to watch. I kind of laughed at him. Don't get me wrong, Lamar Jackson outside just drives my favorite quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, I've loved watching him since that damn Clemson-Louisville game back in 2016. It did a beautiful thing. And I was really concerned after 2021 and after last year that injuries were going to plague his career and that it was over. And the series proved everybody wrong. Best season passing by far. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I enjoyed watching it so much. And this receiver core doesn't even look half bad. I mean, Odell still doing his thing, playing with no ACL, playing with every other injury he sustained. He's still doing his thing. Zay Flowers as a rookie has been so good. Isaiah Likely has stepped up so well. And the crazy thing is they might have Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews might be back.
Yeah.
It's a running back room that always figures out ways to have players be great. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill have been a great running back too. It sucks that they can't have Dobbins or Keaton Mitchell, but it is what it is. Rashad Bateman even had some his moments this year. I mean, and then that defense is just it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah.
They've been amazing this year. This is a team that I think matches up really well against Kansas City. I don't think it'll be a blowout because Kansas City doesn't get blown out in the playoffs. But it's gonna be I think Baltimore doesn't really struggle much in this game.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is a game which I think is going to show the real mettle of Mike McDonald.
You're also getting Marlon Humphrey back if you're
also getting
Baltimore.
Marlon back. Yep. I mean, that's really it's Mike McDonald and Steve Spagnuolo, and it's a chess game against both of these offenses, which have been top 10 units throughout this year, have showed their versatility. But for McDonald, it's how can you manage to do the same thing you've done against so many other great quarterbacks? The stunted rushes, the disguise coverages. The different blitzes, utilizing all these incredible athletes that you have on the field who may not be the most talented football players ever. I mean, I looked at this defense in the beginning of the year and I liked them. I thought there were holes, and they have covered up every single one of those holes simply with their scheme and the way they're able to catch teams by surprise. Are they going to be able to catch this Kansas City Chiefs team by surprise and Andy Reid? I think that's going to be a massive question. I do like the Ravens in this game. just because I think they're going to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage. I think they are going to
on both sides of the ball.
And I think they're going to win this football game. So, and I think they're going to win big as well. I think
Big.
they are the more well-rounded team. I think they control the pace of this game, and I think they win big here at home.
I think Baltimore wins 21-13.
I think Baltimore wins 26-17.
Nice. Should be two